Hello, everybody. And well, first of all, thanks for being here today. We have this, as you know, this is our second webinar of the first open call of Imagine Beyond 5G. We have, well, with us myself, I'm Professor David Gomez Barquero of the Technical University of Valencia, the coordinator. We have also James Clark from SETU, which is the well, coordinator of the administrative part of the open calls. And we have also with us Kostas Kousias from the University of Oslo, that he's the, well, the deputy technical manager of the open calls. Let me see, because a lot of people are joining and I need to, well, it seems people can join now freely. This is we are using the webinars feature of Microsoft Teams for the first time. So, well, what we are going to do today is we'll go through all the documents and in with more time, and so everything you need to read, everything you need to prepare. And we will include an example of like the submission platform, so you get to know it and you see the example. We are recording the webinar and we will make it available. So let's well, let me admit more people, and then in principle you are all muted, but please use the chat for questions and answers. In the first part of the webinar, we will go through all the documentation that we have here. I'll just share quickly the web page that I'm sure you are familiar with it. Oops. So we have all these documents. We will start. Jim will explain the what is it? The guide for applicants and the grants agreement. So those are the first documents that you can take a look at. I will explain the facility description and the platform and vertical experiments. Those are the two types of open calls or projects that we admit. And then the actual documents that you have to prepare is the proposal template and the feasibility check. I will show you an example of the feasibility check, and Kostas will go through the proposal template in detail and then show you an example. So I'll stop sharing and let's get started. Jim.
Okay, thank you, David. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so thank you, David, for the introduction. I'm from the Southeast Technological University in Ireland, and as David mentioned, we're coordinating the sort of administrative and the financial aspects of the open calls. So the first document I just would like to present for you is the, let me just try to get a better view. Here we go. Okay, so the guide for applicants is very, very important. It has, you know, the information that you need to, you know, go through the proposal process. So the first section is an overall summary of the of everything, basically. And in fact, this is what can be found on the funding and tenders portal, which is a requirement for all projects with open calls. So it just, you know, puts everything into a nutshell about the types of participants, the types of projects that are expected, number of partners per proposal. So the target number is one partner, coordinator only, or we do allow a maximum of 2 partners, 1 coordinator, 1 distinct partner. And then it has some information about the budgets available, number of proposals, maximum funding, and so on. So as you go into the guide, it then has much more detail on you know, everything that's in that first page summary. So the next section has a description of the call, you know, introducing the call and also the objectives of the call. the types of projects. It gives more details on the two different project modalities, the vertical experiments, which are research and innovation and experimentation projects for vertical applications, pilots and trials. And then the second modality is the platform extensions, so hardware and/or software extensions to the Imagine-B5G platform to provide novel features through hardware and software extensions to the facilities. Okay, so and then it'll also describe in the document that it is possible for you to have sort of elements of both of these in one project. And we describe how you should only put in one or only one project would be funded. So you first have to decide which is the priority of your project. Is it more extending, doing a little bit of research and innovation, with the view to then provide hardware and software extensions? If that's the case, then you would be putting it in under an extension platform or platform extension project. If the project is more research and innovation experimentation, the vertical applications with a smaller element of extension, hardware or software, then we ask that you would put it in as a vertical experiment project. Okay, so this is explained in more detail in this section. And it gives some information about the duration of the two different project types. Then the next section gives the eligibility criteria in detail and what you need to know about the being eligible to submit. So I just want to point out here that at the time of submission, the coordinator must acknowledge their prior knowledge and acceptance of the Imagine-B5G open call subgrant agreement, which I'll go through next, as there is not a negotiation phase prior to the signing of the subgrant agreement if the project is selected for funding. And the reason for this is that this subgrant agreement has been used over many years, and we've already done all the tweaking that we feel is necessary for every type of organization, from the smallest, of SME up to the largest industry and up to academia and research. Now, obviously, there will be small things like the which I'll go into a bit more detail later, maybe on IPR and things like that. Then the next part is on the allowable funding cost categories. So what qualifies for financial support is the personnel costs for development, integration, experimentation, testing, and validation activities, infrastructure, hardware, and software to deploy the project, travel and accommodation to participate in the activities, and then also a small budget if needed for communication and promotional activities, because obviously the one of the EU requirements on all of their projects is to have communications, dissemination, and exploitation types of activities. Okay, so these carry forward into our open calls as well. Then the next section covers the funding schemes for the experimenters. Okay, now the funding allocations are dependent on the project type, okay, whether it's a vertical experiment or a platform extension. And it also is dependent on whether it's a one-partner project or a two-partner project. So this is all explained here in detail for both the vertical experiments and for the platform extension projects. And the durations are different. The vertical experiments are given 12-month period, and the maximum 12-month period, and then the platform extensions are given a maximum of 18 months. Or cost values or duration projects are acceptable. It's dependent on what your project is proposing to do. Okay, in terms of the payments, it breaks it down here that there will be a 35% payment after the first month with the first deliverable at the end of month 1. So it's more or less an upfront payment of 35%. And then the second payment would be 50% of the maximum financial support after the final deliverable. And I'll go into a bit more detail on what these deliverables are. And then the final 15% will come after the successful review of the project. That includes the first 2 payments of the open call projects. Okay, and then we just give some indicative numbers of the number of projects that will be funded in the open call 1 per project type, and also in table 2 we have the indicative number of vertical experiment projects per facility as well. And again, these are just indicative numbers depending on the accepted projects. Then there's a section here on conflict of interest and ethics and values, which is always required in the projects. So it just points out that that the open call projects themselves must also adhere to the different articles in the Horizon Europe grant agreement. And so it just points these out here in this guide for applicants. So you don't have to go searching through the MGA for them. We just put them here so that you're aware of them right up front. Then in terms of reporting, we try to keep this to a minimum because we prefer that you focus mainly on the achievement of technical objectives. So for monitoring purposes, we do have 2 deliverables. The first one is called the Intermediate Execution Plan, including report of usage of resources to fulfill the contract. We are using a lump sum model for payments, but for monitoring purposes, we do have a requirement to have, you know, a sort of a lightweight report on the number of person-month spent, personnel, and other costs, as well as related indirect costs for the first half of the period. And so that'll be laid out in the first deliverable. And then the second deliverable is your final experimentation extension report. And again, this includes resource usage. And then it'll also have it has to be accompanied by a signed request for payment from the partner as evidence that the money was spent. And this is all laid out in the sub-grant agreement, which I'll go through in a moment. And then it just has a pointer to the proposal template, which we'll go through later in the webinar. And then it also talks about the feasibility check, which is a mandatory requirement. And we'll go through this in a bit more detail later. And this is for the facilities that that you're planning to propose your project towards. And then finally, there's a section on the criteria for evaluation. So please look at this closely because this is these are the criteria that the evaluators will be following when they're doing the evaluation of the projects. So it's based on, you know, excellence, scientific excellence, the impact, you know, how your deliverables will be achieving maximum impact, and how it will be contributing to the Imagine-B5G ecosystem and the overall objectives of the Imagine-B5G projects, and you know, working with the facilities of the project. Then the implementation will also be evaluated. So you must provide credible evidence that the project delivery team has the necessary skills, resources, infrastructure, and management to deliver on the project in the timescales and budget specified. Okay, and then just give some information here about the scoring. Okay, So that's the guide for applicants. And now I'll turn my attentions to the sub-grant agreement. So as I mentioned before, this sub-grant agreement has been used over a number of years on open call projects. So the sub-grant agreement will be between my institute, the Southeast Technological University, and the coordinator of the winning projects. So and it basically lays out all of the the different things in the contract, which you're probably quite familiar with a lot of these because we sort of follow the Horizon Europe model, which is something that we have to do for the open call projects as well. And as I mentioned, there could be some minor changes to be made. Nothing major. The minor changes will be information about the projects themselves that are being funded, and also if there's any specific intellectual property rights elements. Now, this would be especially relevant for the extension type projects, and you'll notice in the feasibility check that one of the items that we're trying to identify at the early stage is whether there's any IPR issues that we need to discuss with you, and then these can be collected, and then if you have a winning project, we can certainly insert these into the sub-grant agreement, as they were previously discussed, and we can do it quickly because we really won't have time, and we won't be able to do it ad hoc or from scratch when the project is selected. Okay, so that's very important to keep in mind when you're doing the feasibility study. Please fill in any specific IPR questions or requirements that you might have and discuss these with the facility owners of the project. Okay, then there's two annexes here. So the first one would be the description of work. So what we do there is we work with you to convert, just similar to how you do it in other research and innovation projects. So we'll help you convert the proposal into the description of work. So that'll be your Annex 1. Okay, and then it will just give some information about the deliverables. And then the Annex 2 is the payment plan and the working practices. So this is where we outline the costs of the project, and then the deliverable due dates, which are dependent on the start date of the projects, obviously. And then we have the payment plan outlined here in Annex 2, which I mentioned before. And then, as I mentioned before, the reporting here. And then what we do is the monitoring is quite straightforward. So when the deliverable is submitted, we will have have a team reviewing the deliverable, and then we have a meeting with the project team to discuss the deliverable submission. And then if it's deemed to be the quality that's expected, then it's very straightforward, and then we make the payments right after that. Okay, so so it's very straightforward. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it's something that we need to do just to monitor the work that's going on in the project. And then, as I mentioned, the final report will be accompanied by a request for payment from the partner. Okay, and the allowable costs are dependent on the project type and will be filled in when the project is selected. One of the questions that came up on the first webinar was about the travel costs. What kind of travel is expected? So what we think would be good is that if you have a 12-month project, you could have depending on the phases of your proposal or your project, you could have travel to the facilities at intervals, perhaps an initial visit, and then at an term, or whenever you see fit. So it's really up to the requirements of your project to decide how much travel you would need. And then what we also mentioned is that because it's an open call project, we can have some flexibility, perhaps more flexibility than a regular Horizon Euro project, in that if you need to move some budget around to have additional travel budget, you can take the budget from personnel and move it into travel. Of course, you would need to check with us before doing that, but we can be somewhat flexible in that. Okay, then it may be envisaged that there could be participation at Imagine-B5G meetings as well. So you may want to have some budget set aside for this, and then possibly review meeting if it's face-to-face, or perhaps it might be virtual. It all depends on how the commission want to do it. Okay, so if you have any questions on these two, please put it in the chat window, and we'll go through them later on. So with that, David, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. We have a couple of questions already in the chat. Maybe we can take questions after each block of presentations. This is the first one. And let me see. There is, a first question is, what is the minimum project duration period? And that depends on the type of project. So it's not the same. Platform extension is supposed to last longer or compared to a vertical experiment. And also depends on there will be 3 open calls, 1 per year, and especially the open call in 2025, which will be only for vertical experiments. That open call will be only 6 months. The budget will be smaller, those 60,000 euro. So for this year, for this first open call, the project durations, the estimated project durations are 12 months for vertical experiments and 18 months for platform extensions. That doesn't mean that has to be exactly 12 months for the vertical experiments, because the vertical experiments are supposed to end in a pilot or trial. So we will have to accommodate it. And that's very important to take it into account. For platform extensions this year, we expect 18 months projects. And also, it's very important to take into account that some sort of support should be provided until the end of the project. We will try to minimize as much as possible the potential travel in that, let's say, second phase. But all extensions, all to the platforms, should be available during the whole project. And it's also important to say that all platform extensions, the idea is that later on during the project, they are used for a vertical experiment, right? And that should end again in a pilot or in a pilot or and trial. So that's the first question. Second question, is deadline of the feasibility check, which is 18th of August. That's the deadline to submit the feasibility check. Okay, because then we will analyze it the following week, send it back to you, and you could still submit a proposal by 1st of September. So that's very important. But I will explain the feasibility check later. I encourage you or everybody to send even a preliminary feasibility check as soon as possible, because we are receiving a lot of emails asking questions. For example, there is one question about if something we consider we would like to expand the cloud to edge orchestrator to include MEC and so on. Is it interesting? In general, it is interesting, but we cannot we don't have the time or the resources to have individual meetings at this point. And what we would like actually is that you submit a even preliminary feasibility check, describing your idea, what you will require from us, what you will provide to us, how that integration will it be. So when you have already some idea, and all of you do, and in general all of them are interesting, please start working on a preliminary feasibility check. Write down there your idea. I will go through it later, but especially what are the, well, if it's an extension, what are the advanced features, benefits from your point of view, how that integration will it be from your point of view, what you will provide in terms of hardware, software, how you see the integration. And again, it's a preliminary feasibility check, because with that information, then we read it, we go back to you, and then we will provide the officially feedback in that way, and you still will have time until 18th of August to submit your final feasibility check. So I encourage you to submit the feasibility check as soon as possible with your ideas. And then 2 more questions. What is the funding ratio for SMEs? Well, the funding for SMEs, we have like the commitment to allocate at least 50% of the budget. So right now we have 2 million euro available, and let's say if you are not an SME, you will be competing for 1 million, 50% of the budget. For SMEs, we'll give them this priority. Funding ratio model, maybe Jim, you can take it, is lump sum,
Yes.
right? And explain
yes.
it. Yeah.
Yes. Perhaps the question might be because of the fact that it's an innovation action project in which typically the partners of an innovation action project that are industry-based are typically funded 70%. But we inquired with the European Commission what happens with the open calls on this. And so the response that we received was it is up to the project itself as to how they want to allocate the funding ratio for industry members. So we've decided to fund the full 100%, so in the case that you mentioned, if your project is 100% or 100,000, excuse me, then your funding would be 100,000 if that's what your project is proposing. Now, there is other projects that you might have heard that have decided to do it differently than us, but so maybe that's the reason for this question. But in our case, according to the direction from the European Commission, we were told that it's up to us to decide what our funding ratio could be for industry, and we've decided to go with the 100% fund.
Yes, and it's important maybe to add that even if it's a lump sum model, in any case, we will request like information like about the actual expenses and costs, like typical information in European projects, number of person months, average person month cost, travel cost, and so on. That information we will request it, but we will keep it for potential audits. So we are using lump sum. That means, you present a budget. If we give the okay to the budget, then you'll get the money directly in whole. Okay, let's have one more question, and then we move to the second block. And the second question is, do you have a forecast for the conferences events of the open call winners should participate to? For example, 2 events in Europe during the project lifetime. Regarding conferences and events, we don't have any any requirement, so to say. Let's say the main the priority is to travel to the facilities and for integration, for the pilots and the trials. Potential meetings I mean, in general, we are allowing hybrid access to our meetings, so it shouldn't be a problem. For dissemination communication, it's not a requirement, let's say. If later on it's possible, will be good, and if not, well, we'll see. And I think, Jim, you mentioned the midterm, the reviews with the commission.
Yes.
Actually, I just got yesterday an email from the project officer that in principle reviews will be online. So yeah, no travel needed. Most important thing for the travel budget is to travel to the facilities. Of course, any potential work that can take remotely, we should do it remotely, but some travel to the facilities will be required. Nevertheless, the integration, testing, validation, later on to support, to make the actual pilots and trials. So
there's
okay,
one question.
Yes,
I can take this, David,
yes.
on in case of audit. We do actually ask the participants to keep records, you know, as per even though it is lump sum payments. As far as we understand, there is still a requirement to keep, you know, internal documents, you know, for a certain period of time, you know, just in case something in our reviews comes up, and then we have to trace back and get information from the, you know, it's unlikely, of course, but we do ask the participants to, you know, keep records, not just, you know, bare bones records, but, you know, the actual receipts and things like that, especially for equipment, in case it would ever be needed.
Yes, at the end, even if it's lump sum, well, for potential audits, the commission also, with the commission, we should have that information. Okay, one more question. Should the proposer be in contact with the platform owner before submitting the proposal to verify that the extension to the platform is feasible? The answer is yes, but the procedure is to make a first submission of the feasibility check. Okay, we will go through it later, but as I was explaining before, that's the procedure we have. Well, how we have organized ourselves, so that you, even instead of sending an email with ideas or having a meeting, an online meeting, we want you to send us a description of your ideas with a preliminary feasibility check. Once we receive it, we will analyze it and send it back to you, give you feedback. And of course, if you do it now, or not just the day of the deadline for submitting the feasibility check, 18th of August, then it can go, it's possible to make several versions. Okay, one more question. Can we decide which facility we want to contribute to, or the project will decide based on the project topic? That's actually a good question, and we have some examples. In principle, in the feasibility check, you can decide which platform or facility you are interested. But actually, once we receive the information, it could happen that the consortium sends us feedback, like, we believe that this other facility is better for the experiment. You see, at the end, is that's why it's very important. I would like to stress it again, that you send us a first feasibility check as soon as possible. And don't worry, it's not final, but it's the information with your ideas. And again, ideas, and well, integration, hardware and software requirements, that you expect from us, that you bring. Okay, well, we'll see it later. So, okay, let's, well, there are no more questions. Thanks for all the questions. I hope they help you. So we are moving to the second part of the webinar. I will share my screen, and I'm going to go over the facility description document, and then the document with the vertical experiments and the platform extensions. Okay, I will go quickly through it, but so that well, you have this information. So basically here in this, first of all, the facility description document, as you all know, we have 4 facilities in Norway, hosted by Telenor, in France, managed by Eurecom. And then we have there's a Spanish facility and another one in Portugal, in Aveiro. So here we have like a first, well, it's like a description that you should read. It will help you to complete the feasibility check and also to decide which facility is in principle, the ideal for you. It could be possible that you are open to work in several facilities, and that's also possible to inform about that in the feasibility check. Okay, so the Norwegian facility, the main partner is, well, Telenor, we have Nokia Finland, and the University of Oslo. Here you have like a description. In Norway, there are different sites available, different bands. There is also, well, let's say there is work in progress. So the facilities are improving, but there is some, let's say, well, sites or equipment that is already ready to host the first open core. Okay, well, we have been working on a high-level architecture, but well, if for some people might be useful, for some people might not, but nevertheless. And then we have, as you can see, and this is like a general structure for all the descriptions. We have some text on the radio infrastructure, equipment. Well, here, of course, the radio infrastructure depends on the actual site. Have here like some sort of summary table with the frequencies, bandwidth, and so on. Also, the 5G core network. Some more info. Well, as in this case, well, we have different sites. Let's say in Svalbard, Trondheim, and Oslo. For the time being, more sites might be available in the future. And well, in this case, here you have the orchestration part, security in case you need it. And in Oslo, at the University of Oslo, and also at UPV in Valencia, we have 2 immersive laboratories. And well, you'll see later there are some specific calls for immersive either equipment and experiments. And then another very important point from my point of view is the portal APIs, especially for the vertical experiments, because, well, this is ongoing work, I have to say. But so there are a number of, well, portals and APIs that we plan to expose to ease the integrations with third parties. Okay, so, well, these APIs might be, well, good for you or not, but well, in any case, we need you to fill the feasibility check and then start some communication with you to check how that integration will be. We will not get into a lot of details, but we do need to understand how the integration would be in the facility. Okay, here then the Spanish facility has also 3 sites. We have a rural site in well, we have some in Soria, like north of Madrid, and then here in Valencia at UPV campus, and also the port of Valencia. So we have 3 sites, again, which opens up the many possibilities, especially for vertical experiments. right? You have here some descriptions. We have added some pictures of our campus, for example, and then so that you see, like for trials, what's the environment. We are working on on a portable node, so that we could even, for example, have some coverage, indoor coverage in a classroom, and also we have coverage in the immersive lab, the port of Valencia, some pictures, and the rural site. Okay, so for vertical experiments, again, there are plenty of opportunities or possibilities. And then the same as with the Norwegian facilities. Sorry, so we have here you have the radio. So for example, here we have a millimeter wave, non-standalone, because we need LTE anchor, but we do have also some SA possibilities. Core network, cloud edge computing, the same. So here it's important you take a look. In the Spanish facility, we are working quite a lot on CAPIF and network as a code to expose some APIs and advanced functionalities of the 5G network to potential developers or application service developers. So and that could be used for integration with the vertical experiments. And well, security, the immersive lab that we have here at UPV. Here you have some picture, and here again some description of the portal APIs. So please, if you are interested in the Spanish facility, take a look at this. And again, the network as a code APIs, some might be of interest to you, maybe none. That's fine. It's just something we have available, or will be very soon available, and could be used for integration. And then also CAPIF APIs. Then the Portuguese facility, it's in Aveiro, and they have a number of different locations in Aveiro, and again, that's where the trials and pilots could take place, and that's very good because again, we as you can see, we have many possibilities for vertical trials and experiments. And again, we have the high-level infrastructure, and then the radio, the core, the cloud edge computing, and the service or the management orchestration, and some here the other information, the vertical developers portal, which and some API. So this is, again, it's important that you especially for vertical experiments, you take a look and regarding this potential integration. If not, you could say like how you expect to do that initial integration. If it's an application, it shouldn't be a problem, but we would like to use these APIs and portals if possible. And also we do have resources to let's say improve or upgrade the portals, and we will do it once the first open call is closed, and we will be working with you. So the consortium has, let's say, your budget to work with you in the integration of in the facilities, and later on in the implementation of the trials and pilots. Well, in the case of Eurecom, you all know they focus on open air interface and variants. Have also Airbus, Samsung, and Keysight is involved in all the facilities for testing. And then in Eurecom, or the French facility, is rather special because it's based on open air interface. Then they have also the different setups available, well, also they also focus on Open Run. Okay, well, or Run. Okay, so they have some information here. Take a look. You can see here this is more technical, but in case if it's a platform extension, then well, you can. There was someone interested in offering a platform extension. You can describe your, let's say, your component solution. What are the benefits? How it could be used for vertical experiments, and then which facility you believe could be well or your preferred option, let's say, and how the integration will be. Okay, well, here you have very detailed information because well, Eurecom or OpenAir interface has a lot of information available. Okay, so this is the document regarding the facilities. If in case you have clear that well you want to go or your preferred option is the Norwegian facility, please read this description. And any questions you might have, well, you can ask questions now in this webinar, and we have also an email for generic questions. But from my point of view, best thing will be to start working on the feasibility check, describe your idea, how could be integrated in this case with the Norwegian facility, and any questions you have, you add them there or in the email when you send the feasibility check, and that will help. That will speed up the process a lot. Okay. Okay, and then we have two documents for the platform extensions and for the vertical experiments. As you know, there are two types of projects. The platform extensions, they are meant for upgrading the facilities, okay, with some software and or hardware. Those platform extensions, as I was saying before, for this year, the plan, let's say, duration of the project is 18 months, but with the commitment that the extension should be available until the end of the project, because we are not, let's say, the initial idea of these platform extensions is that they are used later on during the project for vertical experiments, right? Which is like the main, the other type of projects. So here in general, we are open to any idea on platform extensions and verticals, but we do have some, let's say, the consortium has some initial ideas, and that's what it's described here. It doesn't mean that if it's not here, you cannot submit a proposal. And again, I like to insist that we are open to any ideas. It could happen, for example, also with the vertical experiments, that someone proposed a very interesting idea, but we could unfortunately we cannot take it or implement it during this first open call, and that's because, well, for example, there is no coverage in the required scenario needed for a vertical experiment, for example. But that will help us. I mean, also like to receive the feasibility check, understand the idea you are proposing. Maybe if we cannot host it right now, we could say, okay, well, for this first open call, we cannot do it, but please try again next year, and we will extend or upgrade the platform so that we can accommodate your experiments. That could happen, and because, well, the facilities for the first open call, well, let's say we are freezing them now, the first release of the platform, and maybe we need some additional feature we don't have, and we will discuss with you if it's feasible to or not to do it or to have that integration in short time. But if not, we still have 2 more years and 2 more open calls in the project. Okay, so I'll go quickly over this, but well, there is one desire or one wish list is in terms of especially advanced modem devices, you know, an integration in the facilities, in the Spanish, Norwegian, and Portuguese facilities. Here we would like to have someone that can provide new modems as soon as they appear in the market, and also that they and they help in the integration of those new modems in the different facilities. Even though here we have the 3 facilities, in principle, we agreed internally that the main facility for testing these new devices could be only one, and then the other facilities will also benefit of those modems and work. Okay. Then there is another platform extension for immersive equipment that's for the Spanish and Norwegian facilities and the 2 immersive labs. And here, well, if you are interested on this, in the description of the Norwegian and Spanish facility, there is a description of the immersive laboratories, what we have, what we plan to have, and here is a thing, or well, even it's here, what's available, and what will be our desired extensions. Okay. The French facility, because it's well, it's rather special itself, being like open source. So we have some desired extensions on open source run solutions. Okay, well, here is what's available. There is plenty, a lot of components available, and these are again desired extensions that we believe could be used later on for vertical experiments, right? So here is a list of features of interest for the project, but again, we are open to receive any suggestions. Regarding the 5G core, there are some actually in all the facilities some features of interest. For example, the private and public networks. Well, the open source for France and well, in Portugal they have some specific requirements. Again, well, I will not go into details. Take a look at it and read it, and if read also the description of the facility, and then what I will do is to write a first version of the feasibility check as soon as possible. Well, for the Open Run, well, this is well, some well, I'd say it's well, here there is some interest. It's not clear, let's say, what could be integrated, but here again, it's part of our wish list. Edge Cloud Continuum in Norway, and well, network as a code. This is actually one of the main features of the project. Is we are working, well, we call it Nokia call it also network as a code. Those are some sort of APIs to expose advanced features of the 5G network to service or application developers. You know, there is now a lot of well, the whole industry is working a lot in this line. We call it network as a code. And here, well, there are some different extensions that we are interested. These extensions also, or let's say the network as a code, can be combined with a vertical experiment. Actually, that's the idea. Is like to have a vertical experiment using network as a code. But well, we have it here as a possibility. Okay, and here, well, some desired extensions and so on. Some zero touch in Norway. Here you have the desired extensions, and then also well, for the Portuguese some functionality extensions. There is some related to to positioning and assurance and automation. Okay, so again, this is a list. It's not it's ideas that we believe we are interested, but we are open to others. Right, and if you are interested, you believe that you fit into one of these categories, then you will go to to read the corresponding description of the facility that is interested on the facility. Then again, submit a first version of the feasibility check. Okay, and then in this document with the vertical experiments, again, this is like a list of use cases that we intend to demonstrate, because we have like the scenario and the facilities, I would say, not ready. So not all these use cases will be ready for the first open call, but we are already, I mean, we are very interested to look for companies that could work with us to make these vertical trials and pilots. So actually, and it could happen that some of these use cases, once we receive a given proposal, we do the feasibility check. Some might be deferred, for example, to the second year. But well, again, until we don't receive feasibility checks, we will not decide. So, and very important for vertical experiments, we have the facilities available, and anybody can propose a vertical experiment, and you could even say, I can provide this and that, and I will need maybe, I don't know, like a vertical stakeholders. In some of the cases, we do have them. If not, we can look for them. So again, feasibility check, tell us your idea, what you have, what integration, and so on. So, well, the use cases that I will walk quickly is one on firefighting and forest surveillance in the French facility. We have one use case on critical surveillance and inspection at the port of Valencia. Also at the port of Valencia, we have this remotely operated boat, like with 5G, of course. Oops, sorry. This one. Yes. So for the Portuguese facility, we have one use case on crisis management and IoT. And as you can see here, we describe a brief description, the scenario where the pilot vertical experiment, like the pilot, and will take place, the desired contribution, but again, it's very limited. So we just, if you believe that you are suited, you can contribute to this vertical experiment. What you have to do is to make this feasibility check and send it to us, and then we will be in touch with you and first check that we have everything. All the checks are done, so we can actually start working together in November. And if not, worst thing it can happen is that we say, look at this, for this first open call, it's the facility is not ready, but for the next ones should be ready. Okay, so for media, we have some use case on remote production in the Norwegian facility, for holographic communication in the Spanish facility, transport. This is for the transportation and logistics verticals. We have one use case on related to localization in the Portuguese facility. Telepresence maintenance in Spain. In Spain, you know, we have these three sites: the rural site, the Port of Valencia, and UPV campus. So, well, the idea is to do this, to do it combining several sites. Then Industry 4.0, some use case. Education. In education, we have two universities in the consortium, Technical University of Valencia and the University of Oslo. So any experiment related to 5G, and actually I think we are really managing two premium sites for testing any 5G related education application. So here you have it. We have, in a way, this is a generic description, but at the end, any idea will be very welcome. We do have already coverage, a lot of equipment that you could use, and then you can bring your own or the application and so on. Okay, so then we have, as you know, this rural side. So we are interested on smart agriculture and also forestry in vertical trials in Spain and also in Norway. And some additional use cases, and for e-health as well. So we are interested on e-health applications in the Portuguese facility and potentially also in the Norwegian facility, but we will need some specific ideas. Here are the Norwegian facility. Okay, so that concludes this second part of the presentation, where it's this the facility descriptions, the platform extensions, and the vertical experiments. So you don't need to read the 3 documents completely, but maybe what you need to do is, first of all, to understand whether you go for a platform extension or a vertical experiment, or a combination of both. In those cases, then you'll need to take a look to these 2 documents. Then think, if there is some in either a platform extension or vertical experiments where you fit, then read that in detail and the description of the corresponding facility. And if not, if it's something that is not here, then feel free to send us a feasibility check explaining your idea, which is the next part of. I don't know if there are any questions now. We can take them, or Jim, you can take a look, or I can also take a look to the questions. Let me see. I'll stop sharing so that I can take a look to the chat. Okay, there is a lot of questions. Okay, there is a first webinar. It was mentioned that the network on wheels from the Norwegian platform was missing in the PDF and will be elaborated in detail. Can you take this action? Okay. I don't know. We have Hakim from Telenor with us. If you can tell us some details on the network on wheels.
Yes. Hi all. Hi David. Hi all. So
hello.
Thank you so much for the question. So for the network on wheels, it's in fact we have multiple versions, and each one it's remote and it's connected. It has its own core and radio. It's connected to our network. It can be interconnected to our network, and for different, I think we can also modify the descriptions where we can include this network on wheels so that everyone can benefit from the information.
Yes. Okay, so we haven't done that in Norway. It's a summer season, but okay, I take note, and maybe Hakim, let's work on making a new version of the platform facility description, and we add there one section on the network on wheel. Okay. Then are there facilities that support ORAN interface option 7.2 between DU and RU? Are there facilities that include RIG that support X apps and Air apps? Abderrahman, you want to take it from Eurecom?
You have to unmute him.
He's not unmuted. I thought he was. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Please try to. You have to now. You can. Yes, you should be able to speak. Okay, but if not in the French facility, we cannot hear you, Abderrahman, yet. Although you are unmuted. Well, now you mute yourself. Okay, now, but very low. Can you speak up or increase the volume?
What about now? Good.
Well, still a little bit low, but we can hear you now.
Okay, so what I was saying is, yes, we support the 7.2 split in Eurocom. We have some radio units that can support, and we have the interface required to, and we have actually a full running setup that implement the 7.2. For the rig, we just have near real-time rig, so no non-real-time rig. We have the NRT, we have in-house solution that is called FlexRig to support all the platform and interfaces required to run the X apps. And we also have some integration with MicroONOS from the Open Networking Foundation. So yeah, we have near real-time rig, but we don't have the non-real-time rig to support the R apps.
Okay, thank you. So next question, is there a facility with industrial production environment aspect of Industry 4.0? And the answer is, well, yes, we have. Well, we have some, for example, in Norway, we have this network on wheel that can be moved on. So that gives a lot of flexibility. In Portugal, they also have a industrial 4.0 environment. In Spain, for example, the idea is the industrial environment, we can consider it the port of Valencia. Some of the areas of the port can be considered also an industrial environment. And actually here in the UPV campus, we have an industry 4.0 lab, and they have indoor 5G coverage as well. So there are different possibilities. In case you are interested in a vertical experiment and you don't know which facility is best, again, what you have to do is to describe your idea, and then we will check internally. Okay, then one question, network as a code is available only on the core or also on the access? Here, okay, I can say that the network as a code in Spain and in Norway is not exactly the same, but actually it's not meant, so it's not only on the core for sure. So the idea is to expose features of the network, right? Overall, it could be, I don't know, how many slices you need, things like that. Could be, yeah, at least in the Spanish facility. So if you're interested on network as a code, take a look to the facility descriptions in Spain and Norway, that specific part, also the platform extensions on network as a code, okay? And that's more meant for to ease access and to expose some advanced features of the network. And okay, Costas answered that. No, yeah, Norway, they have this Industry 4.0 use case, so good. Then one question, who covers the budget needed for the facility owner to support the proposal? Integration effort, for example. Well, that's, I mean, the partners, the consortium, we do have some budget to integrate with the third parties coming from the open call. So we have some budget already allocated to us. We cannot increase it with the open calls. And that will be, I mean, whoever wins the open calls and, well, either goes to one facility, then the partners of that facility will be working with the third parties to integrate them and to, well, either to extend the platform or to integrate the vertical experiment and later on to perform the pilots and trials. So let's say the partners of the consortiums, we cannot apply for the open calls. The open calls are meant for third parties to like join us. Okay.
David, this question
yes.
highlights the importance of the feasibility check.
Yes.
You know, so it's actually the feasibility check is not only the feasibility of the proposers, it's also the feasibility of the partners as well. So it's important for both of us to get the information as early as possible.
Indeed, exactly. Again, it could be someone proposes a very interesting idea, but it's not feasible or requires a lot of integration time or needs something from the facilities that is not ready yet, but we plan to have it for the second open call. Well, in that case, we will analyze it, discuss it, and will be deferred to next year. And if we check that everything is okay, then, well, we're free to go to submit a proposal. Can we choose more than one platform extension topic? I guess that's, well, in the first webinar, we discussed that only one proposal will be funded, okay? But you are free to submit more than one. But only one, the first one in the ranking will be selected, just in case you submit more than one. One possibility could be in a single proposal, if you combine more than one topic for platform extensions, that will be totally fine. And so yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what you have in mind, but it's possible to submit more than one proposal. Only one will be funded for a given company, right? And in case that you in a single proposal you cover more than one topic of the list or outside the list, that's fine if it fits within your budget. Okay. Then another question on network as a code. Do we have access to low-level features such as packet manipulation, drop packet, change the header packet, etc.? And the answer is no. So for network as a code, we have a number of APIs, and each API gives you access to some specific feature or component. We are working on this, and right now we have a number of APIs. Next year we will have more. So again, take a look to the APIs available take a look to the platform, the facilities description or platform description document, and also there is some more information in the extensions because well, we are interested on some extensions related to the APIs that we have available or we will have available after summer. Next year there will be more, but in some case someone is interested on an API or feature that we don't have now, we will defer it to next year. Okay, James, you answer. Good, thank you. Is there a template for the feasibility check? Yes, and actually I'm going to go through it. Yes, all documents are there, very important, are on the web page. So, okay, we go to the third part of the webinar. I will show you now the feasibility check and one example. It's an easy one, so I expect that you will provide more information. But anyway, and then Costas will take over, and then he will show the proposal template and an example of how to submit a proposal in the platform. Okay, so I will share again. Just give me 1 second. And I will share the feasibility check template that I have here. There is one version in the web page, and we are going to update it today. because I'm happy to say that we have already received a couple of few feasibility checks already, and once you receive it, you always realize you are missing or something to be improved. Okay, so this is again very important, and for any question you might have, or if you want to share your initial ideas, please start working on this feasibility check and send it to us. And until 18th of August, we can go. We can send you feedback, and you can update it in case it's needed. Of course, once you get the okay, then you are you can start working on the actual proposal. Okay, so here, as you can see, some title, whether you go for the vertical experiments or the platform extensions, some contact information. Okay. And then there is a first section with the project summary and description. I mean, we had initially a 300 word summary, but the thing is, sometimes with 300 words is not enough to make a detailed assessment of the proposal. So what we will do in this new version of the feasibility check that will be available today is we have a summary, and this summary, the idea is that it can be used for public documents and reports, and then a detailed project description where you can provide more information, and this information will be treated confidentially within the consortium, and here, because again, for a feasibility check, what we need is to understand your idea. If you are bringing some sort of components, solutions, some applications, for what's the relation either for what's important for the integration of those components or applications. So in terms of hardware, software, APIs, interfaces, what do you expect from the facilities in terms of hardware and software? Just here we want to understand the idea, and you can describe it here, and we will treat it confidentially. And we can, we need to understand everything related to this integration. If it's feasible, because we need to decide whether it's feasible or not. Right? So here you can provide more information. And then we have a second section. We have this, again, this minimum 1 page. The more information, the better. To understand your proposal and the required integration efforts and resources from our side and also from yours. The resources. So here we have, as you see, we have a long table where you can tick, for example, facility sites. Then there is some text, and you can, in case you have it clear, you want to go to France, you can tick it. If not, you could tick the ones you are interested. If you are not sure which one is best, you can just explain it here, right? Verticals, again, which vertical, especially for vertical experiments, but also for platform extensions. We are interested to know, I mean, if you come with your own suggestions, like, look, I can extend or a given facility with this solution, and the benefits are this and that, and it could be of interest for the media vertical, for example. That information is very useful for us. Then, then we have a number of rows regarding the radio requirements. Let's say if you would like to have indoor, outdoor coverage, frequency band, I don't know, in case you want millimeter wave or not, mid-band, core network, UEs, CPEs, edge cloud resources, computing resources. This is Again, this is the, let's say this line is blurred, but explain it here what you need or you expect from us and what you will bring, although that's later. APIs, in case you are interested on some specific APIs, please, you need to check the documents, which APIs are available and which features are available. In case you have some idea, say, look, if I could have access to this feature using a network as a code, that's very interesting for us. Probably, if we don't have it ready for this first open call, we will defer it. But it's very good to get in touch with us with features of your interest. Orchestration, slicing, security, privacy requirements, remote access. In principle, we will give you access remotely always. We'll try to minimize the traveling, but well, you have to account for that. Test and validation, for example, if especially for platform extensions, and I don't know, you want to bring one component or two, and then you can explain us like how you see that testing and validation. APR, any requirement, hardware or software that is not in this list. So here and please provide as much information as possible. And again, equipment, hardware, software you will bring. So the idea is, I mean, at the end, we need to understand the idea and how this integration will be. And we need to decide if it's feasible to do it to start now, let's say in this first open call, start in November and work for 12 months with the vertical experiments, or 1 year and up to 1 year and a half with the hardware and with the platform extensions. Although the platform extensions, our idea is that they are ready at least in 1 year for the second open call of vertical experiments, right? And well, anything at the end, this is a table, anything you can hear, please provide as many information as needed. And if you don't have clear all the requirements initially, that's perfectly fine. You can still, fill down as much as possible. Yeah, and even if you have questions, you can even write us here the questions. So I don't know which APIs I will use, or but we will formalize the interactions via this feasibility check. Okay, and then at the end, well, we'll have here the final assessment or result. Either if it passes, then well, your proposal will go through, and if it fails, we'll explain why it fails. But it could fail because we cannot test it, or we don't consider it feasible to be integrated in a short time. Sorry, but that worst thing can happen is that we end up saying, okay, it is not feasible to integrate for the first open call, but we'll try to upgrade the platforms, or so that it's easier or it's feasible to be implemented for the second open call next year. Okay. So I have here one example that was filled by Min, but she's on holidays, from Telenor. Let me see this one. And well, just so that you have an idea, this is saying just Norway, PPDR, that outdoor interested on millimeter wave. So, well, this is maybe not clear, but it's an outdoor vertical experiment, and then maybe we should write here like interested on millimeter waves and URLC. And for example, in terms of UEs and CPS, it is expected to use at least 3 UEs, CPS, millimeter wave capable. We have some UEs available, see below, but are not millimeter wave compatible. Okay, so this is important for us to understand. Okay, these guys, they will need this number of UEs, CPs. It could also happen that in the feasibility check, we tell you I don't know, especially regarding the resources. Maybe you should account for a given server, I don't know, or one modem. It could happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but it's a possibility. Edge cloud, in principle, no need from computing resources service from the facility, because, well, in the example, the third party will bring their own servers. So in terms of APIs and the portals, we have, well, it's just to onboard a PPDR application into the facility and attach to the network slice that will provide the facility. Well, this is a bit more technical, but still an FBO for lifecycle management of the PPDR application. Slicing requirements, well, these are, well, you can imagine always like desire, but, well, you could provide here some numbers and explain the reason why. Well, some security, VPN access to the facility. Here for the testing and validation, the first feasibility check is what your ideas, and you will not have all the details. And so any information you might provide or different options, I mean, the more information you provide, the better we will understand and we will give you feedback, right? So, well, prefer on-site test and validation during these following periods. So that's good. Require assistance, remote test and validations. Well, if there is some sort of more like integration with the run, you know, so here you have some options. Again, this could be initially you won't have a lot of details. Just send us your your point of view, and don't worry about that. We will read it, review it, and send it back to you. And you still have time to make a new version. So that's very important that you send us a first feasibility check as soon as possible. And here it's very important, well, the requirements in terms of hardware and software in general, and which equipment, hardware and software you will bring. So here, well, I don't know, you can say you have this available, some CPE, some some service and so on. And, well, if needed, just provide here more information. So again, this template, well, we have received few already, and then we are realizing we don't have all the information here. Well, first of all, most important is that you describe the project in detail. The more information, the better. And the sooner we send us this, the sooner we will send it back to you. Our commitment is to send it back in a week. In a week after, and then there will be like a more formal interaction. So sending emails, asking for generic questions. We have a lot of people interested. We prefer to. We have decided to do it using the feasibility checks. Okay. So I'll stop sharing. I think there are some questions, but main message, and I want to tell you, is start working on the feasibility check, write down your ideas, take a look to the specific documents you need, either the facility description where that you are interested, the platform extension vertical experiments or just to the sections that are related to you, to your solution, or verticals you are interested, and so on, and send it to us. Okay. Let's see if there are any questions. The feasibility check is going to be proceeded through email. Yes, initially it's an email. I think it's the contact email for the open calls, and then we internally the consortium that goes to the corresponding facility, or if it involves more than one facility, we are already like the consortium discussing that. Okay, and yeah, okay, Jim, you answer. Thank you. Okay, if there are no more questions, I mean, I guess, well, some people, this document was not ready during the first webinar. It was published last Friday. Well, I recommend you subscribe to this newsletter. We are trying to provide updated information there. But if not, then we move to the proposal template, and then Costas will show us like a real example in the submission platform. So Costas, floor
Yes,
is
hello.
yours. Hello.
Thank you, David, and thank you everyone for participating in this second webinar. My name is Kostas Kousias, and I am a postdoc researcher at the University of Oslo. And from our side, we are managing the technical part of the open calls. So I can share my screen, by the way. And
yes, please.
Okay, so I guess you can see my screen. Okay, so before I show you the template, I also wanted to, I don't know if, can you see my screen now, or it is like
yes.
gone? Yes, okay. Yes. So I just wanted to highlight our website, because everything that both David and James mentioned is already here. So you have like the timeline with all three open calls, and some information about the main objectives of the Imagine-B5G open calls, some more info about each specific open call, and the funding and everything. And here, if you go to this section, you will see all the documents. So you have the facility description, the platform extension, the vertical experiments that David went through, the grants agreement, and the guide for applicants that James discussed. And here you also have the feasibility check template that we had this question in the chat. So you can get it from here, and then you will send it through email. And then there is this proposal template that I will go through now. And this is, you have to fill it till the 1st of September, I believe. But yeah, you just need to make sure that you have submitted first the feasibility check and then the proposal template. Okay, so this is how it looks. This first part is almost identical to the feasibility check. You have to state the title of your proposal and maybe an acronym if you have one, and then to state if it's like a vertical experiment or a platform extension. And here you can also state whether it has more like a research perspective or it's more targeted in industry. Then the duration in months. Again, this depends on whether it's a vertical or platform extension open call. If it's a vertical, it's 12 months maximum, and for platform extension is 18 months. And then the name and so on and so forth. And then the first section here is about the summary of the project. I think, again, you can copy that from the feasibility check or vice versa, because it is, again, the summary of the proposed work. I don't really know if you should have a different description here. This is like the exact same project. So just make sure it is the same. Yeah, yeah. And then in this section B, you can have more details. So you can provide a more detailed description of the project. So this can be minimum 4 to maximum 7 pages. So you have enough space to provide information about your project. And we have split that section into 3 parts. First, you can provide the concept and objectives of your open call proposal, and maybe state a bit how it fits within the Imagine-B5G project. Then you have to write a few things about how you are kind of envisioning to impact, whether it's like a impact on the research domain, or if it's something to do with the industry, or if you're targeting some platform extension, you should state the impact within the project, and so on. And then the next part is about the state of the art and the innovational potential. And again, you have to select the appropriate part. You don't have to write all three of them because you are targeting just one of them. So again, you have to maybe elaborate more on the state of the art and how you see that the experiment will be, like the ambition of the experiment and so on. And then maybe the most important part is the methodology and the associated work plan. Here you have to, again, we have two sections. One is for vertical and one for platform extension. I think they are kind of similar. The only thing that is different is the milestones and the different months you have to deliver both deliverables. So you have these milestones under each of the subsections. So for example, if you have the vertical experiments in the first month, you have to provide some initial design and execution plan of the vertical experiments. And then again, at the end of the first month, there is this deliverable D1 that you have to submit. And then you have to go through each milestone, and you have also the approximate month. I think it's not set in stone, but it gives you an idea on when you can achieve these milestones, for example. And then the deliverable 2 comes in the month 12 for vertical experiments and month 18 for the platform extensions. And you also have some dissemination activities here, and also analysis and feedback and so on and so forth. So have a look on that and just make some kind of plan for your project. And the third section is about the requested Imagine-B5G resources. This, as David talked about it, here you have to provide the information about which facility you would like to apply, and also some of the features that you need. However, I believe that this is a more high-level description, since most of this information you will have in the feasibility check. So I don't think you should elaborate a lot, David, right?
Yes, so at the end we decided to have, let's say, this information in detail in the feasibility check, or as much as possible. Of course, if you get the feasibility approval, and later on you have some more details, the more information, the better. You could add what you reported in the feasibility check and more details if needed.
Yes. Okay, and then section D is about background and qualification, and here is more about the proposer's background and qualification. And in case you have 2 participants, then you have to clearly describe the qualifications and expertise from each participant's view. And this is minimal, like 1 page, so you don't have to elaborate a lot. And then section E is about the requested funding. Again, we have already described that, provide this information in the beginning. So you have a maximum budget of 150K for platform extensions that involve 1 partner, and 200K for 2 partners. And then when it comes to vertical experiment, the budget is a bit lower, it's 100K for 1 partner. But again, the duration is different, so it kind of, yeah, balances out. And then for 2 partners is 140, and there is also the split between the coordinator and the partner. So you have to here see what you are applying, and then we have 2 tables depending on if there is 1 partner involved or 2 partners involved. And here you have to fill the table based on how you're planning to split the funding. For example, if you have some money about direct personal cost or travel cost or some equipment cost and so on. So again, David, I don't know if this would be like exact information about the budget, or it's an approximate information about the budget.
Well, at this stage is an budget proposal, so it's an estimation. We do need some information. At the end, the lump sum model, we will pay the budget accordingly, and they will have, there could be deviations, of course. I don't know, the travel budget initially was expected something, and later on was something else. So So this is just a proposal in terms of budget.
Yes. Thank you, David.
Just to say, the most important thing is that the requested budget matches the work plan, you know, to make sure that, you know, what's described in the work plan is matching with the, you know, budget requested.
Yes, so just make sure it is like for vertical, there is this information here. It's 100 and 150K. And again, depends on while you're like 1 or 2 partners, it kind of changes a bit. Okay, so moving on, the next is use of proposal information. This is just yes or no kind of table. So it is more like of stating whether you agree on some information. It is related on sharing this information within the consortium. So you have to go through this table, and if you have any doubt, or then you have to come back to us. But this is usually standard kind of use of proposal information table that we provide. And the last part is about the ethics, and again, it really depends on what kind of project you're proposing. But in case there are some ethical concerns, then there is enough space here to write about the dimensions of the objectives and methodology and likely impact, or compliance with ethical principles and any relevant legislations that may have. So in case you don't have any ethical constraints or concerns, then maybe it would be easy for you to fill the table here. And I believe this is all about the proposal template. So the core, as you may understand, is where you describe your proposal in section B. And here you have a lot of space again to describe what is your project about, and so on and so forth. And again, this comes after the feasibility check, so make sure you have the okay from the facility, and of course you can start writing it before, but this will be submitted after you have submitted and you have a response from the facility about the feasibility check. Any questions, or we can go through the submission portal and show you an example on how.
There are no questions. So
good. Okay.
Just while you're opening that, Kostas, I just want to point out again on that very last, or not the very last page, but just before the ethics page, there's a tick box there to confirm that the proposer has downloaded, read, and understood the sub-grant agreement beforehand, and there will be no negotiation. So please download that, give it to your legal departments beforehand. It's very important.
Great, thank you, James. Okay, so going to the proposal template, if you go a bit down to the website, you see like the preparation and submission process, and then you have to go through the steps. And when you're ready, you can join Imagine-B5G now. And here you can you're gonna be redirected to this portal, and you will see like the deadline. If you press here, you have this 1st September 2023 is the final deadline for the proposal. And then you have the program committee, and then if you go to the conference side, you're back to the Imagine-B5G website. So for the submissions, I have already tried a few just to make sure that it works as intended. So what you can do is, it is very, very simple. So you can just press new submission. Here you can write some title, I don't know, like my open call proposal, for example. And then here you have to upload your submission in a PDF. So you can go here. For example, this is the template. It's like a dummy file for now, but you can open it. And then here you have to upload the feasibility check. And this is the signed feasibility check that you will have received already from the facility. So it will be, again, later September, so you will already have this. So you also need to upload it in a PDF format. So you can do like this. And then here you list the authors, or maybe the person of contact, the people of contact, or whoever is involved in the proposal. So you can do the email, the name, and the affiliation. For example, here I only have myself, but of course you can add as many as you wish. Any contact person, if there are many people, maybe you don't want everyone to have to be like a contact person, so you may want to list some of them. And then the type of project, whether it's a vertical experiment, so you have to take that, or if it's a platform extension, there's the second option. And here there is also some box that you have to indicate if you have other relevant projects that are currently running, or that there are any relevant proposals in submission to other SNS open calls. And if this is the case, you have to mention the SNS project name and the corresponding open call identifier. So if you don't have any, then you just say, I don't have any, or something like this. And then you can see that the submission is ready for review. And yeah, just make sure you have submitted everything or filled every box, and then save and submit. And then you can see that your submission was registered successfully, and now it is ready for review. And if you go back, I believe that you will be able to see your proposal. So for example, this is submitted, this is withdrawn. I mean, you can even withdraw it, or you can even edit it if you have submitted before the deadline. And you can make a new submission if you're targeting more than one extension, only one will go through, but you are, of course, allowed, I think, to go through to make a second submission. But again, you cannot have two submissions accepted in this first open call. David or James, do you want to add something on top?
No, thank you. I think it's very informative and people. So at the end, it's easy to do. Jim, want to add something?
Yes, just one thing on the previous page where we're asking for information on other SNS participation. There is no issue with participating in more than one. There's nothing to stop you from doing that. The reason that we're collecting this information is that we're going to be coordinating with our sister projects, just to make sure that there's no double funding or any operational capacity issues with cases where there might be, the same consortium with two funded projects, let's say. So, we'll be checking to make sure that, they're not the same projects being funded twice, or the same team that's, working at the same time on the same project. It's just something that happens across many of the FSTP style programs, and it's happening with SNS as well. It's something the Commission have requested all the SNS projects to carry out. So that's why we're collecting this information. It's not, it won't black mark you if you have 3 or 2 or 3 or whatever. It's just to sort of, so that it helps us to coordinate. We'll find out anyway if there is, because we are, coordinating across the, with our sister projects anyway, but it's just good practice for us to collect this information. And that's the only reason that we're doing it. Okay.
Yeah,
great, thank you, James.
Good point.
Yes, I don't think I have anything more to say on that part. So.
Okay. So let's see. Well, there are no questions on the chat. I don't know if there is any additional question for now. If not, well, this webinar is being recorded. We'll make it available to you. In general, you should start providing the grant agreement to your legal department contact person. Then you should read the facility descriptions document, the one you are interested. Also the platform vertical experiments documents, the ones that are of interest to you, and start working on the feasibility check. So that's like my recommendation, and start working on a first version. If you can send it end of this week, early next week, the sooner the better. And don't hesitate to not send it because you don't have all the information, all the picture. That's not a problem. And yes, I wanted to say we are planning to make another webinar in 2 weeks from now, so 26th of July, same time. And well, it will be mostly questions, I guess, because maybe we give some updates in case there are some, but we will update everything in the web page. We will send you via the newsletter any changes. So, for example, there will be this new version of the feasibility check updated, and the facility descriptions will update it with the network on wheel. So we will inform you via the newsletter, or it's like email. And yeah, we'll meet, again, this webinar in 2 weeks, and in principle also 8th of August, or let me see, sorry. So yes, 26th of Wednesday, 26th of July, from 11 to 1 Central European Summer Time, and also 9th of August. That will try to solve any questions you might have. Okay, so I like to thank first of all the attendees and all the people interested to join us. I think it's a really exciting project, and we have premium facilities and good funding and opportunities. And thank you also to Costas and James for the presentations and questions. We keep in touch. See you in 2 weeks. Bye.
David, can I just mention
sure.
one last thing? Yeah, just if you have any questions, we do have frequently asked questions
also
on the website, which we're updating as we receive new questions. And I'm just going to put here on the chat that if you can't find an answer to your question, you can drop us an email at this email address, and then we'll give you an answer, and then more than likely we'll add your question to the FAQs, so you'll be helping us to help both yourself and others potentially.
Indeed, but no question related, or is this idea of interest, or how to be integrated? For those type of questions, we fill the feasibility check, first version,
exactly,
and send it to us. Any other question about the process or whatever, you can send it to the email. Yeah, thank you, Jim. Okay, so let's conclude. Almost 2 hours webinar. Didn't know. I wasn't sure if we were going to use it the 2 hours, but we did. Okay, thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.